Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil makhluqeen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. We should always praise to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The peace and salutation always upon His beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his householders and his companions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His Quran al-Kareem, وَمَا أَتَرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَ فَقُرَقَبَ. You can't reach heaven without crossing a mountain pass. وَمَا الْعَقَبَ. What is that mountain pass? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that فَقُرَقَبَ. It is emancipation. The current challenge that facing the Islamic jurisprudence was the Christians from the Occidentals and the Islamophobic towards the issue of the slavery and the liberation of the slaves. The Islamic scholars of the worldwide, they are Christians. They have got so many Christians under the issue of the liberation of the slaves, and we know that the Quran is the code and real constitution of Islam. Our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife Aisha radiallahu anha says in a hadith that Quran was the life of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Quran is the real constitution and the real law-making system of Islam. And Quran didn't ban slavery as strictly as like the strictly prohibition of the stealing of properties of others and using drugs and zina, etc. Because from the emergence of Islam, slavery was a system that situated in the Arab and other parts of the world. We know that Islam is a religion that apt for every generation's people that's living in the world. And the banning of a globally accepted idea like slavery would depict a black mark on Islam and in the mind of humans. It would be depict a black mark on the mind of human beings. So Islam didn't ban utterly the slavery system, and Islam come to take a brotherhood sense, and Islam made to provide slavery to protect the slavers and to protect and to give a good life to the slaves. Islam make a brotherhood sense between the slaves and the owners. Hence, to eradicate the inferiority complex between the slaves and the owners. Through the making the brotherhood sense of a brotherhood system, the inferiority complex in the slavers will eradicate, and the slave's mind will be changed to a good life, and the feeling of I am a slave will be equal to I am a son and I am a daughter, I am a father, etc. If an owner behaves completely according to the full of protocol of Islam, of course he will respected by his slave by the code of Islamic jurisprudence. So Islam is the real constitution to make a protected life and responsible for the life of the slaves, and Islam come to become a religion to protect the slave's life. And it is very hard to find a religion like Islam which accelerate these type of manners and respects towards the slaves. Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anh had chosen the liberation of the slaves as a priceworthiest thing that among the world charity items of Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His Quran al-Kareem, Surah An-Nisa, verse 36, you may do good deeds for your slaves. From this teaching of all the Quran and Hadith studies, we know that we can find that the Islam always protect and Islam always support the slavery system, and Islam is very kind to protect the slaver's life among the owners, among the all parts of the peoples. Hence, the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the terms of liberation in His Quran was very motivational to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the characteristics of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in Surah Al-Ahraf, and that part of Surah Al-Ahraf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that our beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was a very interested person in the case of the liberation of the slaves. And beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not a person that only talking by his word that the case of liberation, but he always liberated the slaves in his life. He is practically do the liberation of the slaves in his life. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam liberated the slaves like Mariyat al-Qibtiyya radiyallahu anha, Salman al-Faris radiyallahu anhu, and Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu. We can see an incident that related to Zayd radiyallahu anhu, that Zayd radiyallahu anhu was a little child and he was under the caring of our beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At that time, the father and mother of Zayd radiyallahu anhu come next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ask for their son to give back. At that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at that time, Zayd radiyallahu anhu cried and said that I am not coming with you. I am love to stay with my Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can think that message of the little Zayd radiyallahu anhu. He loved the care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is the behavior of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam towards the slaves and towards the case of the liberations of the slaves. We can see another hadith reported by Ma'rur radiyallahu anhu shall showcase the virtue of Islamic perspectives towards the case of the liberations of the slaves. Once he met Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu and his slaves that wearing same types of costumes. At that time, Ma'rur radiyallahu anhu inquired about it. Ya Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu, why did your slave dress the same as like you? At that time, Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu replied that my beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teach us a notion. Atwa'imuhum mimma atwa'amakumullah. Indeed, they are your brothers. The Almighty Allah entrusted them to you. So feed them from your food and dress them from your garments themselves. See, this is the aesthetic aspect of Islamic jurisprudence. This is the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the teaching of our religion, that according to the emancipation. Due to the high willingness of Islam towards the liberations of the slave, the Islam consider the liberation of the slaves that the compensation for such numerous sins. For instance, if a person invalidates his fast by a sexual intercourse with his couple, his first option to liberate a lady slave under full of the Islamic concern. So this type of compensation that make a liberation of a slave such a numerous sins, it makes to motivation to liberate a slave, and these types of laws making is the real magic of Islam, that the considerations of the liberation of the slaves. We can take another scenario of the Islamic civilization, the Badr scenario. The Badr battle was a real epitome for this theorem. The opposition soldiers of Badr battle, we caught the opposition soldiers, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a discussion with his followers like Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. At that time, Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu said that to kill all them, and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu stand up with the lieu of compensation. After the hearing of these type of suggestions, and our beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached in a finest and better decision, that to free them only after the compensation. And Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu was praised by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam for his solid mind, and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu for the humanitarian mind towards the liberations of the slave. And the compensation was the freeing of 10 children from the states of Medina, and it was a apt and real pronouncement. It was a good pronouncement for the under the issue of liberation of the slaves to the all states of Arab. through these perspectives of Islam, Islam was concluded some of the methodologies that to liberate a slave, and by the conclusion, Islam was reaching a five finest methodologies to liberate a slave. And the first one is liberation by a more contentment from the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and the second one is liberation in the lieu of compensation, and the third one is liberation by achieving zakat, and the fourth one is liberation by giving birth, and the fifth one is liberation by the pact. These are the five methodologies that concluded by Islam to liberate a slave. And we want to research about the studies of the Islamic studies and the Hadith studies according to the topic of the emancipation, and we want to spread the real ideologies of Islam towards the world. So let me conclude my words. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.